Right. So this is my big brain question for you here. This, and I have it up on the screen here on Twitter X. This is the tweet from Sundar, um, from Google about their new quantum computing chip. And I mean, I can't really wrap my mind around these numbers, but to me, this seems to have some sort of implication for crypto. If all of a sudden we have out of the blue this, and it's probably not out of the blue for people that have their nose close to the screen, but for me, something like this out of the blue, where we have this brand new chip that can solve a standard computation in 5 minutes that would take a leading supercomputer beyond the age of the universe to complete right now. That seems like, first of all, it seems like a completely outrageous claim. Is that something they can do right now? And if so, like that seems to have a lot of implications for how we use tech and how crypto operates. Like, how do you see something like this playing out in the quantum space?
Yeah, well, so let's first, I'm going to give a very simple explanation of how they're doing it. Okay. It's
Okay.
very simple. Okay. A normal computer is essentially linear, ones and zeros. Okay. I'm not James Altucher here, by the way, but that's actually probably better because I had to figure this out in like real guy terms. Normal computers, ones and zeros, right? So you basically have to go down a million linear paths at
Mm-hmm.
once to figure something out. Well, that's a million actions. What this one is doing is it's positing all of the possibilities at the same time, essentially. You know, it's there was I read something. It's like Schrodinger's cat, right? Is the cat there if no one sees it, kind of thing. You
Right.
know, but it's basically able to. It's a version of parallel processing. I don't know. So y'all can read like some complicated thing on it, but so A, it's very real. B, it'll be interesting to see the ramifications, and I think it's hard to tell. You know, you and I had a conversation. I'm going to share that conversation. It could have massive ramifications around crypto. You know, you brought up, well, if you have that degree of compute, well, then you could just compute and do all the mining super quick for Bitcoin. And to me, like that wouldn't be a bad thing. If all the Bitcoin, there's 19.8 million Bitcoin out there today, there's only going to be 21 million. If there were 1.2 million more Bitcoin out there tomorrow, probably Bitcoin goes down in the next week. But after that, I think everyone would say, okay, well, now all this is done. By the way, terrible for the miners. You know,
Yeah.
like they
That's
get
not
destroyed.
done.
They get destroyed. The bigger risk for quantum computing to me, but I've got a solution, is, you know, could they get through the encryption of Bitcoin? Could they get through the encryption of anything?
Yeah.
And, you know, but this is why, and I get back to gold, okay, because I'm going to bring this all together. This is why, as bullish as we may be on Bitcoin, we're not going to people and say, put 50% of your portfolio in Bitcoin, you know, or 100% of your portfolio in Bitcoin. You know, there's always these exogenous things that can exist. So you have to understand that in your position sizing, in your capital allocation. But I'm going to share one last thing, and this is from Art Cashin. And I don't know how many of you all know who Art Cashin is. He was a floor trader for UBS, head of floor operations. He was on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange since 1962. He passed away last week. You know, I don't know him personally, know a lot of people that did. You know, great man. He was always on CNBC. And his quote, I want to get the exact quote because it is literally one of the best quotes out there. But you know, but it gets to the crypto quantum computing. You never bet on the end of the world because that only happens once, and something that happens once in infinity is a long shot.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think you prepare for it by not making crypto 100% of your portfolio, but you don't bet on it because, you know, I think that's a tough bet. So that's how you deal with something like quantum computing and all that. You know, and the other thing I'll tell you this, if we get to a point, and I actually, this is probably the best thing, like smartest thing I could say. If we get to a point where quantum computing is really an issue with crypto encryption, you know what? How we're going to know? Crypto prices. They're going to tell us real quick. So this is one of the reasons why, you know, in risk assets, I like the concept of trailing stops below the 200 day,
Yeah.
right? So I'm willing to, you know, crypto's not, Bitcoin's not a sell until it goes to 50,000 or Bitcoin. Sorry, that sounds perverse, right? You're like, oh, I got to lose half my money and then it's a sell. Well, yeah, with Bitcoin it might be, you know, depending
Yeah.
what's going on, you know. But for right now. I just think, you focus on what's happening, what we know and can know, and what the trends are telling you. And you just have in the back of your head, you position size right. You've got trailing stops, all these things. That's how you can deal with that degree and level of unknown.
Yeah. I mean, even for, in my very surface understanding of these things, this feels like a very big deal, like coming down the pipe here. And also, just looking at the reaction from Google stock, which, by the way, I believe you mentioned last week that this was your favorite of the mega caps. Am I correct on that? You said
of the Mag 7, Yeah, look at that.
So beautiful chart here. We've had a lot of really nice looking breakouts in the Mag 7 recently. Apple looked really good. I think it's extended here, but it did break out nicely. We have Tesla back over 400. I've been beating the drum on Tesla since back here when it broke out of this base. It was sloppy, but it did end up extending here. Since the summertime right here, it felt like everybody was on the wrong side of the boat, like you said, your canoe boat analogy, where everybody was so bearish Tesla and bearish full self-driving and all the other stuff. And now we have Elon funding an entire presidential campaign and actually winning.
So I'll compare and contrast, because you and I have maybe some subtly different views on this. Goog is exactly what I was talking. What's happening is exactly what I was talking about. Mm-hmm. Great company, underperformed. People were relatively underweight because of the whole Department of Justice thing. They're blowing away numbers. Look. And then he comes out and he says, "Oh, we solved quantum computing." Like, I want to be long these kinds of people. He spends $100 billion. I don't know the number. I actually think it's $45 billion. $45 billion a year in R&D. Actually, let's do this. I want to do this real quick. Let's do this is always one of my favorite exercises. Goog R&D budget is 31.56 billion. No, 50 billion. Okay. And if we go the S&P 500 by market cap, let's just go. This is always one of my favorite exercises. I post this on whatchamacallit all the time. Goog spends the equivalent of a Paychex, DR Horton, American Electric Power, a Vistra worth of a Lululemon, $50 billion of research R&D a year. You want to be long that. So I like it because it's underperformed. Tesla's going to be interesting. And the challenge that Tesla has is going to be, I wouldn't buy Tesla with an RSI here of, what's the RSI?
75, 26.
75. Obviously, you guys know I don't like to do that. I would own Tesla right up until 2 days before the earnings. Because I know they beat this most recent earnings and all that, but I think that you're still in a negative earnings revision cycle. And until that really turns, and we talk about for the Maverick, we talk about the 1, 2, 3 signal. I want to see 3 consecutive positive earnings revisions. If I don't have that, I just kind of like it's too murky, and we're not there. Although I will tell you, with Tesla, we got the 1. We're at 1 right now. Yeah. On the 1, 2, 3. So I'd rather buy Tesla up another 50% after the 1, 2, 3 and off of consolidation than I would certainly buy here while it's still starting. But that's positive.
All right. Sounds awesome. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back again next week. Thanks, Enrique.
Thanks, everyone.